Okay, here we go. Sifu Steve's review and talkthrough of how he came about his Guzzle custom. Here it is at the moment. Sitting in his tank mode. A few things to start off with. It's my first custom. Used to work for Games Workshop, so I don't mind chopping things up and painting them, but it's different chopping up a static figure than it is to chop up and paint something that needs working parts, like moving parts. So yeah, bit of a challenge. This is more of a proof of concept for me, and it still feels slightly unfinished, but I'll let you know where I went from this. So props to Frenzy Rumble. His was the first Guzzle custom I came across that I really liked, and it switched me onto the Hulk mold, the Hulk crossover mold that I already had, but I liked it, but it didn't really fit in anywhere, and I kind of like what he did with it. I believe it's the same guy's Colossal Customs, so yeah, props to him, because he did a good job of his. Similarly inspired. So first off, anyway, tank. I like the tank by itself. That's the tank as it is. Now, for me, the Ruination Tank, and I think I have a... yeah. So the tank it's supposed to be based on, this is it here. Okay, now, to me, the characteristics of that are that it has a great big, massive fuck-off cannon in the middle of it, and yeah, that's about it really. Now, you could stick a turret onto this tank as Frenzy Rumble did with his, but I think you lose a little bit of the character. So although I don't have like the 4 tracks that probably use for elevation, etc., etc., I do think that vehicle by itself, the concept of one massive cannon just housed between a couple of tracks, that sits quite well. And I was going to leave it at that, but I think it's just not enough. So I use this piece here, which is from a TFC Shadow Roller, filled, a couple of Repro label cast-offs that I had there, and put a little peg in the top, and that just sort of sits over the front. And I'm still not quite happy. I don't know if I want to... I think I might paint that barrel as well, because it just kind of looks like it's been pegged on. Although I do like the dimensions it gives on the tank itself. It does give it that sort of extra reach, which is what we were looking for. Right, last thing in the tank mode. This is a battle shotgun made by third-party company UFO. Hadn't really found much use for it until this came along, and it turns out that it actually, he says, I haven't tried it since I put the paint on, it actually sits in the top of here relatively comfortably. And so yeah, if I just get, there we go, that's what I was looking for. So that's kind of the tank complete. I kind of like the idea of a shotgun in a tank. I mean, it just blatantly looks like a gun stuck on the top of the tank. The fact that it fits in there quite nicely and quite comfortably looks kind of smooth. I was happy with that. There's like little pegs under here and these sort of side pump arms. They sit kind of well with it as well. But yeah, I like the idea of a shotgun in a tank. It reminds me of like cannon grape shot, whenever you get too close to the cannon, they just load it up with grape shot, and kind of the same sort of concept. You've got this massive cannon here for long range, and then as soon as anything gets close, it gets taken out by the shotgun. So yeah, I like the concept. I like the look as well. Right, we'll get rid of that, and we'll just get through to the transformation, which I'll run through because you can get this from any Hulk review. So we'll just take that cannon straight out. You can see actually at this point, you can see where my sort of gaps are. I didn't think I really needed to paint the bottom of there, and I kind of wish I had, because it does kind of, yeah, it makes the back look, I mean the back doesn't look great anyway, but it kind of makes the back obvious. And there's a section under here as well, underneath the cannon, which again I didn't think was going to be visible. However, I've only transformed this once into tank mode, and I haven't touched it up since. There will be a lot of touch-ups. Paints and paint style, like I say, I came from Games Workshop. Originally I wanted to make a very cartoon look. However, I soon started painting and realised I just didn't really know how to make a sort of cartoon look on paint. The only thing I knew how to do was slightly more like shaded and highlighted. So I went for, and I'm kind of happy I did, because it looks different to Frenzy Rumble's. He's got very clean lines on his. Mine's a lot more sort of dirty and battle worn. And I don't know, again, I don't know how it'll come out on the photos, but let's get this guy transformed so you can see what he looks like. And as I say, there's going to be some scarring, and not scarring, but there's going to be some gaps in the paint from where some of the folds are, like here on his chest. I won't mess around with the focus too much there. Alright, let's get that up. Let's pop this dude's head out. And okay, the awkward part, and these are right, like pain in the ass. So what I'll do is, I think I may well just stop the camera, transform it, and then come back to save waving this thing around here. Yeah, good shout. I think I'll do that. Okay, here we are, almost complete. He's almost back in his robot. I had to take the springs out of these arms, and there's a spring in the center here as well for the hips. I took them out because they just sort of messed around with the articulation. Yeah, this is the guy as it is. In fact, I kind of got the lighting in the wrong place for this. So is that going to work? No, that's not going to work either. Maybe I'll just hold him back a little. Right, so inspiration for what I wanted him to look like. I like the IDW continuity. Oh, actually, let's just back up a little bit. Last part of the transformation is this section here usually stays down. But I found, and this is the main reason that I use this turret actually, I was looking for something to put on the back to use as a turret, but this fits quite nicely in there and just slots in. Still have some articulation in the head. I can rotate that around. Where I glued it actually has come a little bit loose, so I'll have to fix that. There's going to be a lot of touch-ups after this review. Okay, so there's the dude as it is. Let's just bring it in a little. Okay, so I mean, there's different continuities for him. I like the IDW continuity, the fact that this guy was supposed to be like a factory worker, a labourer if you like. He gets involved in the war and decides he wants an upgrade on his body. He gets this class 3 Ruination Tank upgrade, which gives him his nickname Guzzle, because he's his energy's requirements like tenfold or something what it used to be. I like the idea, and because of this concept and because of this idea, I'm quite happy to have the pinhead on the top. I like the idea of it looking a little bit like an exosuit. Like if you just took this away, there'd be this little scrawny factory worker like transforms into a pump truck or something inside it, and that he's now piloting this sort of mech-sized battle suit, and has been for some time, and hence the reason why he's become a bit nails. Pieces that I used. The head is actually taken from a knockoff, a cheap knockoff of a third-party Insecticon. I forget which one. It wasn't Backfiery. I think it was. Yeah, it was one of the Insecticons anyway, as was the chest plate here. I'm still not sold on whether or not it needs the Wrecker's glyph on the front. It may have been a little bit too much to put that on there. It doesn't sit quite so well. So yeah, that's the inside of the head. And if I can just tinker with my focus here at all, let me do it. Yeah, so the head's actually in two parts. You have the inside part, which is that head I mentioned, which has like the face plate on it, and then you have the helmet, and the helmet is taken from a Kreo Guzzle. Boom. So that's actually a proper Guzzle head, albeit a bit of a sort of cheap and cheesy version of Guzzle. But that sort of that when I saw the head and I realised there was a Kreo version out there, I was like, wow, well there you go. You know, nobody can argue it doesn't look like Guzzle if it's actually Guzzle's head. So yeah, all I needed after I'd got the helmet was to actually, I clipped it down, and then was to find something that fit inside. And I had this sort of horrible rip-off of Fans Project's Insecticon. And I mean, I know, it depends what you think of Third Pie. But yeah, that was the idea behind it. As the chest plate, I was looking for a chest plate to go for him as well, to replace the Hulk chest plate, and that comes off the same Insecticon. So yeah, that insect had its legs pulled off. Hey. The paint scheme. You can have a lot of yellow, and certainly the original toy and the Cyberverse figure is yellow as well. However, looking at the pictures that you typically see related to him in his IDW form, he's slightly more orange. It's more orange than yellow, and I think I liked the orange with the grey rather than the yellow and the grey. It remains to be seen. I was going to bring it up using highlights to make it look slightly more yellow, but I found that a sort of dark orange, well, fairly light orange paint job, a couple of layers of that, and then a dark orange wash to sort of seep into the cracks, and then just a light dry brush with a yellow brought the colour up on it. I then put a couple of repro labels around the chest to angle out some parts where there was some epoxy resin in there, and this part down, like his six-pack, there's a like repro label over the top. That one's loose, the other one's come off completely. That was to try and stop this hinge during the transformation taking all the paint off it. As you can see, it didn't really work, but the concept was sound, and I doubt I'll ever actually transform him back again. The two parts on here that are sort of characteristic of the Guzzle character, they form like his energy tanks. That's what they look like. They look like, you know, maybe the extra batteries that he needs to keep himself powered. I put them in there just cosmetically. You couldn't put anything bigger than that, which is what I wanted to do because it messed with the transformation. But those are actually just clipped off the end of a Generation Springer. He's one of his, like, his main weapon has two like projectiles, and I just snipped the end off those because they seem to be the right shape. I don't know, one big paradox I've got here, not paradox, one big drama I have: legs short or legs long. The proportions are certainly better if you put his legs long. He doesn't look quite as disproportionate, doesn't look quite as ape-like. However, he's supposed to look slightly ape-like, you know, he's supposed to look slightly stunted, and so I'm still not decided on whether his legs should be long or short. I think that looks a better sort of overall, but certainly if you stand him up against other guys, he looks slightly more like his character with his little stumpy legs there. Haven't really got a hell of a lot else to do. I'll just give you a bit of a size comparison. So here's his bludgeon, came in recently, so you can see size wise, yeah, he sits at sort of a fairly good height. He's quite short, quite stumpy, quite stocky. He's still bigger than his actual character, and there's no getting out with that, no getting away from it. I saw lots of different customs that people had used and lots of different figures they used for their base, and although there are some that are more appropriate size wise, this guy was really the only one that seemed to do it proportions that I really felt that I could do anything with, that I could work with. Right, and so last things last, let's just strike a pose for him. And for this pose, he's going to have his combat shotgun. I mean, obviously with hands this big, you're kind of limited to what you can put in them. I mean, you could put, like, you know, entire minicon or something in there. In fact, it's that disproportionate. You can't really put any gun that's meant for anything. At one point, I did try him with Metroplex's gun, but surprisingly enough, that was too big. So let's just clip that in for the last part. Come on, there we go. Thank you very much. And there he is. Guzzle, looking all cool with his big badass shotgun. Yeah, that shotgun didn't suit anybody else. It didn't seem to work with any other character, but for him, it looks cool. It looks really cool, and I think it gives him a certain, like, aggression that really works for the character. Yeah, that's it. This is Sifu with his first video review, narcissistically, of his own custom. Signing off. Any questions, then head over to the Transmasters UK forum and find me on there. Take it easy.